SINDAROV is on a generational run right now with a 5.5 out of 6 points in the current 2026 candidates. And I'll be showing you how he won today his game in round 6. His opponent Wei Yi had the white pieces, who he started out with a Vienna. And it was crazy that Javakir SINDAROV was able to pull out this win with the black pieces. So we get a trade off of the pieces coming out. And we actually end up deciding to trade off the knights, but he takes with the pawn, now opening up the G file, which he's then going to use to slide his rook over later and launch an attack if Wei Yi decides to castle kingside, which he does. We get an en passant, and we actually get a trade off of bishop and knight, so now we have a little bit of imbalance in the position. What's so crazy about this move is that Wei Yi spends 50 minutes deciding to make this move right here. As you can see, he had an hour and 12 minutes on the clock, and SINDAROV had an hour and 13 minutes left, and Wei Yi burns all of that, deciding whether to take this pawn with the bishop, and the eval bar doesn't even change that much. I'm not quite sure what Wei Yi was looking for in this position, but that is insane to burn all your time on a move like this. But nonetheless, the queen gets moved, the rook gets out of danger, and we kind of shuffle the queen over, looking to just grab that pawn, and now we're back to even odds, even material. Rook comes up, now we double up the rooks on each file. The computer actually likes better if Wei Yi were to sacrifice the rook right here, open up the center, and it's because the king is in the center right now, and it'd be a lot dangerous to launch an attack and just have a lot of opportunity there. But that is not what happens, as the rook comes up. And Wei Yi actually drops the bishop back, and now he's actually at 15 minutes left on the clock, which is not good at all. But again, this wasn't too pivotal of a moment as SINDAROV's lead grows slightly. But what is so crazy about in the candidates match, SINDAROV decides to move his king not once but twice, manually getting his king out of the center. How crazy you have to be to burn 2 moves in the candidates on 2 king moves during the middle game. And 1 king moves over, Wei Yi tries to copy SINDAROV, but a timely pawn push, which is now the beginning of the end for Wei Yi, as this is going to cause a lot of complications on the c file. We're going to get a pass pawn whether you take, and things are just not going to look great for you. We get a pawn push by Wei Yi, looking to fight back in the center, but it is just too little and too late, because now we can just take that pawn. Queen comes back, looking to win this pawn inevitably. But things are just looking very scarce. We actually bring the rook over from SINDAROV, so a little bit of hope. The computer actually liked bishop e5 a little bit better. Come back here to save this pawn and looking to get something going later on. And b takes c5 is the best follow-up. Now bishop f2 would be the next move, and c4, and now we're looking to push this pawn, and now we're just going to have a lot of complications. And I think Wei Yi honestly saw some of that, because after that we get here. But again, SINDAROV decides to slide the rook over, which is not the best move and gives a little bit of sign of hope for Wei Yi. Wei Yi brings the bishop back, and now we get a trade of the bishops. Queen comes down to grab that back, and then we grab that center pawn. And this is when Wei Yi makes a extremely pivotal mistake right here, as he looks to grab this pawn right here, and it looks extremely harmless. What is the worst that can happen? We can trade all rooks, and that's actually what happens in the game. But Wei Yi missed an extremely brutal resource, which is queen to e3. This is so bad, because when the queen takes, you're not going to take with the rook, you're just going to take with this pawn, and now you're going to have 2 pass pawns in the long run, because there's nothing you can do to stop this pawn fast enough. You're going to have to come down with the rook, or it's just over. I pushed the pawn again, your rook comes here, and now this pawn that I pushed earlier in the game, a very pivotal push to look to open up the c file, instead of taking, I can just start pushing this pawn, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. You can look to bring your king over, but it's just too little, too late, as once we trade off, I'm going to then promote into a queen. And even if we do still get this trade, and then you look to come down here, maybe push, come here, and I begin pushing this pawn. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's just wraps. But you obviously have to take this queen, because if you do not, I'm going to take your queen. If you just simply try to move out the way, I can just start pushing the c pawn regardless, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. But that is actually what Wei Yi tries to do. He tries to get a queen trade going right here, so that if SINDAROV were to take, at least he could take with the pawn and plug the f file. But it just doesn't work because I can just start pushing the pawn anyway. So that is eventually what SINDAROV does. He just starts pushing the pawn. We get a check. It doesn't do anything. I can just get out of your check, and that's not really pivotal. We push the pawn again, push now the other pawn, and we get a trade with the queens, but my rook is just too strong right here. You can look to take right here, and the best move is to just push my pawn. Rook f1. I'm sorry, rook c1 to try to stop it. But again, there's just nothing you can do. I'm coming down to rook e2. You can start trying to bring your king over. I bring over one more square, and there's nothing you can do to stop the check. Trade, and I still end up promoting before you can even stop me, which is extremely brutal. One of the top engine lines is to play rook d8, which still just doesn't do anything because I can block, and you're not getting to my pawn to stop it. And that is why Wei Yi resigned, giving SINDAROV a 5.5 in the 2026 candidates. Very impressive by SINDAROV. Really looking to see what happens next time, and don't forget to follow to get more updates on the candidates games.